The pipeline of five-star recruits from Cali to Bama is open and flowing. Moments ago, Alabama landed a massive commitment from five-star cornerback Dijon Lee. Now, he's from Mission Viejo, California. This is the first five-star commitment in Alabama's 2025 class, but probably not the last. We're going to break it all down in this video with Tim Watts from Bama Online. But first, Bama fans, make sure you are subscribed to the On3 Recruits channel. This is an exciting time to talk Alabama recruiting. Hit subscribe for me, please. All right, let's bring in the great Tim Watts. Now, Tim, how was Alabama able to pull another elite prospect out of the state of California?
I think it's connections. Kalen DeBoer, Courtney Morgan are the first two that jumped to mind when when they got off the plane in Tuscaloosa after being hired. That was one of the four names we heard of the kids in the West Coast who were closely connected to him. Now, he was a big name already had a big reputation. Some of the other ones were more of a sleeper type, like a Jackson Lloyd, who's kind of an unknown three-star, and he's moved into that five-star range for some. But Dijon, he's been there from the end, and I think at the end of the day, it was relationships. Courtney Morgan has a great relationship with that family. BOL had a agree with his grandfather, who could tell you how much he liked Kalen DeBoer and Courtney Morgan. So I think relationships kicked it off, and then of course, he started coming to Tuscaloosa and getting to know. But his recruitment had a decidedly Southern flavor, with Georgia heavily involved. They had the former USC defensive back coach, which made sense. Texas was another one that Alabama beat out. So there were some big dogs chasing Dijon Lee, as you would expect with a guy that size, and has that skill set.
Yeah, sounds like relationships ran deep. From an X's and O's standpoint, what did Bama like about Dijon Lee to really zero in on him so early?
I hate to use the term unicorn because it's just so loosely termed, but when you look at a guy that has multiple position flexibility, he's not really a boundary. He's not necessarily a slot. He's not some free safety or a star, but he probably can play all those to some degree in the right situation. He's extremely long. This is a 6'3" kid. That's not a 6'1" and a half, exaggerated to 6'3". He's on the record at 6'3+, long-armed, good instincts. And what I really like about him when I watched his film was seeing him on punt returns, on returning anything special teams, because you could see his hips, you could see his change of direction, his acceleration better than you could on his defensive back films, where he's dropping into zone, making up a lot of ground with those long legs and those long arms. And man, for a defensive back, long arms come in handy.
All right, so I teased it at the top. This was Bama's first commitment in the 2025 class, but might not be the last. Tim, who else is on your radar right now?
I think you're looking at Caleb Cunningham, maybe Clockett. Those are two guys Alabama's at the, near or at the top of the list. Both are 5 stars. I mean, it's kind of early. You're still going to have 5 stars develop, but it's hard to look at, Caleb Cunningham especially. This is a guy you're not expecting to ever fall out of anybody's top 32. I mean, he's everything you're looking for. He's a playmaker. He's got size. He can go inside. He can go outside, take a short pass long, or go deep, just outrun you. He's got everything you're looking for. So he's a candidate. And obviously Lockett, he's looking at a lot of schools, FSU, Texas, big-time schools, another big-time playmaker. So there's 2 there. I mean, there's others on the border of that 5-star. A.K. Deere, number 2 running back in the country. Those guys usually end up in the 5-star range. So Alabama's done really well, especially not so much with just the stars, but we've seen a lot of guys who didn't have a lot of offers, who weren't ranked very high. We've seen a lot of guys climb up the ladder. Their evaluation skills have been second to none.
Yeah, and speaking of climbing the ladder, Alabama is climbing the rankings right now in the On3 industry rankings. Tim, do you think that in the first full cycle under Kalen DeBoer, do you think that Alabama has a chance to run at a number 1 class?
I think they do, but you know how this goes, Josh. You've been in the game a long time too. I mean, you've got Ohio State, who's a monster. LSU's having a great year. Texas ain't going to go quietly into that night. You've got so many teams. Georgia. Got Georgia. If you're in the mix with those top 5 teams, that's where you want to be, because that's who you're trying to compete national championships year in and year out. And Alabama has put themselves firmly in that top 5. Now it comes down to who wins, gets the 5-star uncommitted, this guy, who gets the 5-star uncommitted, that, who flips. I mean, people are acting like signing day's next week. Signing day's 6 months away. You know what I mean? A lot of these kids are going from 17 to 18 and basically be grown in their mind. So a lot of things are going to change. And also, who's going to improve as a senior and who's not going to have the senior year we expected. So while we feel like we're at the finish line, we're at halftime. Whether or not your team's winning is important, but we're only at halftime of this thing.
That's a great point. And hey, way to go into halftime with a 5-star commitment. So Alabama fans, talk to me. If we are at the halfway point, do you think that in the end, Alabama can finish number 1? Let me know. Comment section below. Well, you've made it to the end of today's video, but there's hundreds more videos on the On3 Recruits channel for you to check out. And also, while you're here, hit subscribe.